Hi everyone, Clovis here from KinematicLAB.com. In this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to use the new combine object. I start with a case where you have an animated character with separated parts. So here you have this soldier walking and it's made of 9 parts. They are all skinned to the bones separately. Okay, so that's good for a few things, but sometimes if you want to apply a modifier on top of that, point cache it, or I don't know, make an Alembic cache, retime it, that's going to be a pain. So let's see what combine can do for you. First you go to the KinematicLAB category and find a combine object. Then you create it in the scene, that's this little C shape here, and you go to the modify panel. Here you can add the objects in the list. You have two ways to add the objects. A pick button here, which enables you to pick different meshes. Okay. And you have the plus button, which opens a selection window to select all the parts and add them to the list. As you can see now, all the added parts are now attached in one object. And if I scrub the timeline, you see that it replicates the mesh and the animation as well. Also, if your separated sources have different material IDs, like I have in this scene, they are also replicated in the combine object, which means that you can apply the same material and now you can't really tell the difference between these two. You can move this combine object, and if you align it to 0, 0, 0 in the scene, it's perfectly aligned to your source objects. Now let's see some of the features in combine. Because your different meshes are now attached and keep their animation, you can point cache this combine object as if it was only one geometry, simply because now it is one geometry. We have some cache options here, a start and end frame, and two cache buttons, cache and copy and cache and collapse. Let's see what the first option does. So I'm gonna first change the end value. Okay, and let's try the first button. It opens a window to select the folder. So I'm going to select just the desktop folder. Okay, and then it duplicates the mesh and point cache it. So now you have a copy, an exact copy, which is an editable mesh with point cache on top of it, which is already recorded. So if I play it, it's the same animation, point cached. You can align it to the world. It's again aligned on the source object. Right? And the second button here does the same, but then it collapses the combine object itself and you can't access it anymore. So let's try that. I select the folder. Okay. It computes the point cache. And you will see here the combine will disappear and be an editable mesh. So you don't have access to the combine now, which is okay. But if you want to, change some values or use the other options, you should, use the first option. Also, you can see that the point cache file here is named combine001, which is the name of the object. So if you want to change this name, you should change the name of the source object before. I'm going to delete this one and create a new combine object. Again, add all the parts inside it. Okay. Apply the material. Right. Now if you look here, you have some retime options. The first one is a simple copy, so there is no timing change here from the source to the combine object. The second is a delay. So if you change the frame delay value here, you see that the animation starts earlier or later. If I increase the value, see the source is starting before and then. Okay, so it's already pretty good to retime your animation, or if you duplicate the combine object, it's good to use it to desynchronize the copies and makes them looks different. So I have two soldiers walking here, but they are offsetted in time, so you can build a sort of little army or whatever you want to do. Okay. You also have a random option here. This option is in every retime mode here except of the copy mode. And what it does is that it adds random values to each part. So you don't really want to use it in this case, but that's really useful sometimes. So if I try it here, I add a random value, and well, that's funny, but I will come back to this feature later. Okay, you see what it does. Now you have also a playback graph mode. So this one is exactly like the one in the point cache modifier. You can really retime your animation. So for the moment, it's not moving at all, okay? But if you keyframe, or not, you can simply move this value, okay? But if you keyframe it, okay, you can speed up or slow down your animation, even go back in time. And you still have access to the rig, okay? That's what is good with Combine. That is sort of a point cache, but it's not. Okay, if I move a bone or rotate a bone, it's gonna be replicated in the Combine object. Now let's talk about the other real-time retime options with a new example. I have this little plane animated with a bend modifier and an X-form here. I'm going to duplicate it a few times, like 10 times here, and again 10 times, like that. Okay. Now I create a combine object again and add these planes into it. Okay. So I go back to the retime modes and select the position XYZ. It creates an animation delay based on the coordinates of the sources. You can change the speed value to increase or decrease the delay force. So if I play the animation here, you can easily see the difference with no delay to a little bit to a lot of delay. And the frame delay here changes the global delay of everything. And you also can choose which axis is used to create the delay. So for the moment it's the x-axis, but you can change it to y, for example. So it starts from here. Okay, you can invert them. Okay. And combine them as well. Now let's see the point distance. This mode creates the delay based on the distance between the sources and another object. So I create a point helper in the scene, okay, and I pick it in combine. Now if you move this object, you will see that the closest objects start first and so on. So if I place it here, the animation is going to start by this area. If I place it at the center, the animation is going to start by here. You can eventually animate the position of this point, but it's going to create a strange result going back and forth, but why not? And you still have access to the speed here and the global frame delay. And the last mode is spline distance. So let me create a spline like that. So it works exactly like the point distance, but with spline proximity. I change the mode, pick the spline, and you see that it's exactly the same behavior, but from the spline proximity here, so you can change it in real time and see the effect. Also change the speed again, and the frame delay. Right. Now let's go back to the random value. And I'm going back to the position XYZ mode to show it. So what it does is that it adds a random delay on each object. So if I let the value to 0, there is no random, and the higher you go, the higher the differences will be. With just a little bit of random, adds a bit of, life to it. Okay. Right. Now the last thing I'm going to show is the replace option. You can use it to replace all the source objects by another one. So I'm going to create another object, okay, and use the replace. So I have to align it to 0, 0, 0 to keep the places, but whatever, I can move it. So it's going to keep the delay options based on the source. So even if I change this object animation, can change it like that, okay, even change the geometry itself by adding some modifiers, or change, it can be a totally different object. Add a shell, okay, even a turbo smooth, okay. So all these source objects are replaced by this new one, okay, but the delay is still based on the position of the sources.